There's a mystery afoot in Lake Champlain. And no, we're not talking about Champy the sea monster. Every year, biologists stock Lake Champlain with lake trout. This year, around 41,000 of them, says the DEC's Nicole Bulk.
So we really want them to be able to reproduce on their own so that we don't have to keep stocking them. We want them to be able to do it themselves.
But that 41,000 is about half of what they've usually stocked for decades. The reason? Trout are reproducing themselves. But no one's sure exactly why. That's today's story of the day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Pearsall Wealth Management at UBS Wealth Management USA. Subsidiary UBS AG, member FINRA SIPC, 1 Broad Street, Glens Falls. And Claxton Hepburn Medical Center, dedicated to providing patient care and regional services to the people of St. Lawrence County. claxtonhepburn.org.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Monday, April 10th. A warning, this first story deals with sexual assault. First up, an assistant professor at St. Lawrence University is suing a fellow assistant professor, claiming she was drugged and raped at his house. The anonymous woman is also suing the university, arguing it mishandled her sexual assault investigation. According to the lawsuit filed in federal court last week, Jane Doe went to her male colleague's house for what she expected to be dinner and a work session in April 2022. She alleges the assistant professor mixed her a cocktail she believes contained a date rape drug. After drinking it, she describes being, quote, physically helpless like a rag doll and unable to formulate words. She claims the man then raped her in an upstairs bedroom. Jane Doe reported the alleged assault through St. Lawrence University's Title IX process. The lawsuit accuses the university of engaging in, quote, victim blame and shame conduct and saying she was not allowed to have a lawyer present when she was questioned, despite university policy allowing for that in sexual assault cases. Jane Doe also reported the incident to the Village of Canton police. According to the Watertown Daily Times, the police say the investigation is still ongoing and would not comment. A call to the accused professor's lawyer Friday afternoon wasn't returned. In an email, St. Lawrence University spokesperson Kim Ash said the university has a process for, quote, investigating misconduct allegations and retained an experienced independent investigator. She said the university provided the faculty member support when she made the allegations. She said the university believes there are, quote, substantial defenses to the lawsuit and will reply in court. After informing the college community of the lawsuit Thursday, University President Kate Morris wrote an email to the campus Friday, acknowledging that students are, quote, angry and recognize their depth of concern about the university's procedure for handling sexual assault and harassment cases. The university has made counselors available and will be holding a student forum Wednesday evening. A note of disclosure, North Country Public Radio is owned by St. Lawrence University. The university had no editorial or other role in this reporting. It's officially mud season in the Adirondacks. State officials are urging hikers to avoid climbing above 2,500 feet until trails have dried out. There's still a lot of snow and ice in the high peaks. When that melts and the ice rots, hikers can erode the trail and damage sensitive roots and plants. If you do come across mud or slush on trails at lower elevations, you should walk through it rather than around it to limit damage to the environment. The mud advisory in the Adirondacks could last until June, until the trails dry out. The group that oversees fish stocking in Lake Champlain says the lake trout population is making a comeback. The Lake Champlain Fish and Wildlife Management Cooperative says it's seeing signs of more natural trout reproduction in recent years. So this fall, they'll once again reduce the number of stocked lake trout released into the lake. They'll put in around 41,000, which is about half the amount they put in annually for decades. Nicole Bulk is a biologist at the State Department of Environmental Conservation who works on Lake Champlain. She told Champlain Valley reporter Kara Chapman that exactly what's behind the lake trout population's recent rebound is a mystery.
We don't know why, and there's quite a few research projects right now starting because of that. We're trying to figure out why.
Any theories, I guess, yet?
No, there's too many variables in the lake. We'd have to do quite a few studies to narrow it down.
Okay, I gotcha. Can you talk a bit more about the overarching goals of the restocking program and what are the next steps, as far as trout goes specifically, aside from, reducing the restocking levels? Like what are the next steps?
So the goal for lake trout in Champlain is to maintain an abundant population that supports the quality recreational fishery, but also strives to increase the number of wild fish in the fishery, hence the natural reproduction that we're looking for. So we view the fish communities in the lake holistically. So we're trying to balance the predator and prey dynamics, and we're continuously learning from research and sampling efforts, and then adjusting our stocking policies accordingly to maintain that balance.
And I'm wondering, because I saw that stocking levels for similar fish like landlocked Atlantic salmon, they're going to remain the same for now. So can you talk about, what's going on with those species? And do we know anything about why they perhaps aren't rebounding like the trout are?
Yeah, it has to do with a basic difference in their life cycles. Like people think salmon and lake trout are similar, but they're actually quite different. So in Lake Champlain, the lake trout spend their whole lives in the lake. And so if something changes in the lake, it affects their eggs, how they spawn, their survival, and all the way up through their life cycle. Salmon are different because they spend the first few years of their lives in the rivers. And so they're not going to be affected the same way that the lake trout are. They're going to spend time in the river and then come to the lake, and they're not going to get whatever that boost that the lake trout got. The other salmonids, mostly we stock them. They're just as a recreational fishery, we're not stocking them to restore them in the lake. So we'll just continue to stock them for the recreational anglers to go out and fish and possibly harvest.
And can you talk about how, trying to restore natural reproduction of these fish, like how does that tie into, climate change and like the health of the lake?
Well, climate change is something that we're definitely concerned about. And lake trout are a cold water species of char, so there's a good chance that they could be affected by changes like increases in water temperature. So fisheries is aware of the issue, and the department is pretty active in managing it through the Office of Climate Change, which is a pretty new department.
And I'm wondering, Nicole, if there's anything else that people listening to this should know, or what can they do when it comes to Lake Champlain's fish populations, or is there any way they can help in the restoration process?
One of the biggest ways they can help is by participating in our angler surveys. So in Lake Champlain, I've got an open water fishing survey and an ice fishing survey. And if they're interested in helping with salmonids, the open water survey would be their best avenue. So they just if there's a clerk at one of the boat launches when they're coming off the lake, they can tell them, what they're fishing for, what they caught, what they kept, and that data goes into a database, and that goes into, we'll talk about that in addition to all the other sampling efforts and try to get a better picture of what's going on with the lake trout population. We're starting kind of revamping an old angler diary program, and it's now going to be an angler app. And that's going to be coming out in June, and it's going to be just a beta test to start with, but we're hoping to get information on any of the salmonid species if people are fishing in the lake or in the rivers.
Just a fun question. Do you have like a favorite fish to track or fish for?
My favorite fish has always been yellow perch. I just think they're fun. They're very pretty, very colorful in the summer, and they're easy to unhook, so that's one reason I like them.
That was DEC biologist Nicole Bach speaking with Champlain Valley reporter Kara Chapman. We have more news all the time on our website, ncpr.org. As I write this, we are under $7,000 from reaching our $305,000 goal for the spring fundraiser. So you can still get your donation in to support this award-winning regional journalism. Go to ncpr.org/give and help us seal the deal. The big message to all of you is thanks. You did it. Another big showing of support for trustworthy public radio journalism. It takes all of us to keep it strong, and you did. Thank you deeply, deeply, for sure. Thank you. Music today by Jared Stephen Doyle of Potsdam and Tae Chung of Lake Placid. I'm David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.